And what if I do say that I need you? And what if I do say that I love you?
Since you've been here, how long has Deep Sleep Atlantic been together?
Very new, very new. So I was working on the album while I found the drummer. I was already recording the debut album, which comes out. This will probably be out, not out or out. I'm not sure. The album comes out in June. And I met Daniel, who's my drummer. We were working at a studio, assisting on sessions and stuff like that. We hit it off instantly. He told me he was a drummer. I'm a drummer too. So we obviously had mutual things to talk about, common things to talk about.
Sure.
And I told him, hey man, like I write songs and stuff, and like I got this album that I'm gonna put out. And at the time I wasn't even thinking if I was gonna put out an album, but I was like, I got these songs. You wanna hear any of the songs, you know? And I played him the songs with no expectations, just like a, hey, let me know what you think kind of thing. And he was like, man, I like those songs. If you wanna jam, let's jam. I was like, okay. So we got together and started playing the songs. And then we were like, well, maybe we add someone else, you know? And we auditioned a couple bass players, but eventually decided, nah, we don't need somebody else. Like with his production knowledge and my production knowledge and our musicianship where we currently are, we can pull it off with just the two of us. Mm-hmm. He's a great singer, I sing. He's a great drummer, I drum. He can play piano, I can play piano. I can play guitar, he can play bits of guitar. Like we can get through this, you know?
Yeah.
So we started to try and dissect it and start kind of thinking like, okay, well, what do we do? How would we do it? But we were getting together once a week regardless. You know, so no intention yet to gig or what the plan was. And, you know, we have management and stuff like that. We had it long before we started being the band. That was the whole reason I was going to come here, and I was going to be, just like I said earlier, just the songwriter and a producer. And through a friend of a friend of a friend kind of thing, a really maybe powerful is too egotistical to say, but quite a powerful agency. Mm-hmm. Head of this agency reaches out to me and he goes, I believe you're going to the States. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, let's get together before I go. It's like a couple of days before I'm heading on the plane, you know? And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. I mean, I'm always down to hang, man. Like, you're an intelligent guy. We're talking about music. We'd never met before today. We've had a fairly decent conversation.
Sure.
Like, I'm down to do that with anybody. It's when people start pushing their beliefs and they
come with an agenda.
Those agendas, that's when it gets weird.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'd met him several times and I was like, okay, yeah, cool. I went and met him and he says to me, hey, would love to have you as an artist. And I'm like, wait, what?
Where have you been?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, honestly. And he even goes as far as quoting some of the Dead Day songs.
Oh, God.
And he goes, man, I love this song. I love that song. He's like, something didn't connect though. And I was like, yeah, well, you know, I'm leaving in like, I think like 4 days, maybe 3.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, like, I'm going to be a songwriter, man. I said, like, I write religiously, daily. I said, I can write you a song in 30 seconds. You give me a topic. That's what I'm going to go do. I'm going to go be a songwriter and a producer. And that's what I'm doing now, man. I'm making a change. I'm going to live a life. And I'm going to do that. He goes, you can do that anytime. You should be an artist. I'm like, I'm not doing it, man. I'm done. Honest to God, hand on my heart, done.
I'm assuming this agency was not as far-reaching that it had influence over here.
It does.
It does.
It does.
So
yeah.
was that possibly an option?
Well, so yes, if I'm willing to be an artist.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I'll have to think about it, dude. Like, I appreciate it, but you don't understand. Like, the amount of shit that has gone down since I was a kid to now, it's all I know. I have no qualifications. I have no backup plans. I have no anything except for the fact that I've been around the world and I can make your band talk. Like, if your band sucks, I could be the Gordon Ramsay. I can come in and tell you exactly what's wrong.
Yeah.
And how to fix it. And if you follow my directions, again, I don't mean that in an egotistical way, but if you follow my points, I swear to God, even if you only do 6 of them, if there's 6 to do, your band will be a better band. I know bands inside out, like inside out, and it always takes me back to when I listened to the headphones. Like, people, I know some musicians who talk about sound in forms of color. Oh, I can hear this, it's green, and that's purple.
I forgot what you call that.
Yeah, there's a word for
about.
it, right?
Yeah.
Now listen, I've never seen it as color. But I swear to God, the moment I put those headphones on, when I found that record collection, I might not have known what a guitar was. I might not have known what a snare drum was. I didn't know what a bass guitar or a freaking maraca was. I didn't know any of that. But I could see layers. And I still can. I know exactly how it should work. I could understand it pretty instantly.
So there was some sort of visual representation.
Without a doubt, right? And so anyway, I came with the intention of being a songwriter. Not a singer, wasn't interested. Songwriter, producer. And I told the guy I'd think about it. And so these were the songs I was working on. I kept saying to him, sign me as a songwriter. Nope. But if you're willing to be an artist, I can always push you as a songwriter later. Okay, so I say to the guy, sign me as a songwriter. And he goes, if you're an artist, I can help you as a songwriter, right?
And at this point, he was still offering in the States. So it was going to accommodate...
Yeah, I mean, I've moved.
Okay, yeah, we're still talking after you moved.
We're still talking. He's interested.
So he intends on having you one
and
way
I'm like, oh, man, I don't know. But the seed was planted, and I'm thinking like, man, I know about bands. Like, what's one more band gonna hurt? Like, it's not like I don't know how to be in a band, So I started thinking about it, and I started writing songs. I mean, I'm writing songs anyway, but I'm starting to write songs more for like, well, if I was in another band, what would I want to sound like?
Yeah.
What would I want to look like? What would I want us to be called? What would it look like? Is it just another band? Because bands, there's like, you could, especially down here, you could throw a freaking quarter out your door and you'll hit somebody who's in a band,
Right.
So I'm like, I don't know. I don't want it to be the same thing I've done. I need to really give this some thought. But like I say, the seed's planted. So every day, I wasn't allowed to work for the first few months that I came over here. That's part of the condition on your visa. So every day I'm sitting there, and where we were staying had a pool. So I'm just spending all day playing guitar, swimming, and I've got a notebook.
You poor bastard.
Yeah, I know. what a hard laugh. And I'm thinking like, every time I think of something, I'm just writing it down. And by the end of the day, pros, cons. By the next day, nah, I don't want to be in a band. By that night, but if I was in a band, it would be called this. By the next day, that's a stupid name. I'd never call a band that. By that night, I'm not going to be in a band. And back and forth, just like a whole war in my head, But I am starting to write some stuff away from the just typical everyday stuff I'm writing for catalog, because I write every day for catalog. And for what they call top line, I'm trying to always write melodies for producers and stuff like that, right? So before I know it, I'm like, I got like easy more than an album worth of stuff that I think would be great, that no one else would sing. No one else is going to use these songs. They're too depressing. But like, I don't know, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so what do I do? And that's when I meet Daniel. And I'm like, let me play you some of these songs. And he likes the songs. So we start jamming. Now, by default, I'm in a band. And I know that I don't want to be like every other band. So we're not going to have another band member unless it's somebody who can play keyboard, bass, guitar, sing like a champion, has great time, has a cool look. It's got to be the whole package. It's like, that's what we're trying to do. You know, we're trying to be a certain thing. So if you are that guy, we'll consider. Not anymore. We're a two-piece for as long as we'll probably go.
Yeah.
Touch wood. You never know, okay? But, so, decide on a name, start doing some gigs, and we're like, well, cool. This is what we're going to do. And that brings us to where we're at now. We put out the first single in March. It's done superbly well. Like, way more than I could have dreamed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because like, I was just trying to make music I like, man.
Yeah.
You know?
What's interesting about this time, I believe, is that you kind of, there's always this stage in everyone's life, in a band or out of, and it's not just maturing, but I guess it's on the tail end of that, where you start to prioritize things in your life, and quality becomes more important than quantity.
Yeah.
And you start to actually have like a sensible, I guess, opinion on things. You know, you don't have to be an aficionado to realize that you need a certain amount of money a month, or else you're going to feel kind of bummy. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You're going to be eating tuna fish, you know?
Yeah.
But so, and a lot of bands don't make it through that process, especially if they form when they're young. So I think it would have been an impossibility for your original band to still be, Pyramid Tongue, I'm sorry, to still be together all of this time, over the span of 3 different continents, over the span of the, you know, your maturity or maturing through life. And so I think it's healthy that you've gotten that stuff out of the way. Yeah. And it's at a point actually where you put yourself first. Yeah. So I don't think you're going to create something that's too imposing on your life as a person. Yeah. To where 3 years down the road you learn the hard way you shouldn't have imposed upon yourself like that. So that's really cool. And I guess especially like you're saying, it kind of came about without the pressures or the intention. Yeah. So you couldn't ask for anything more natural, I believe. And I feel like, you know, a lot of good things come out of people when they're allowed to kind of speak their mind audibly, I guess you would say, you know?
Yeah, completely. And, you know, like, at times, there were a couple moments of frustration in the early stages of this, because especially with some of the people who are involved with us being really well connected, you know, you think someone's just going to click their fingers and something's going to happen. And so once you thought that was going to happen, you were like, well, why is this not happening? But in hindsight, the one absolute positive that I have to piggyback on your comment there and say is, the whole time that this process has been going, because we've been working on it for a while, every single time when I run something by my management, he'll go, okay, but think about if that's really what you want, or think about if, hey, figure out the branding, or hey, figure out this a bit better, or never with the you need to do this, you have to do that, but more of a Like, what is it you're trying to do?
But it's always in the context of an artist, of pitching you as an artist, right?
Exactly.
So like you're in that lane in their eyes.
And it's funny because it's like, from me fighting against that for as long as I did, because easy the first 6 months of me being here, maybe longer. Nah, I'm not sure. You know? Which, you know, I know it might seem a little ungrateful. Some people would kill for those kinds of opportunities. But you never know the shoes someone's walked in, you know? And I'm not trying to say that I was unhappy or anything like that. We all get moments of being unhappy, you know? So it's not got anything to do with that. It just came down to, I didn't want to keep, what's the definition of insanity? You keep doing the same thing, hoping for different results, right? Yeah. Like, and at this point, I mean, I can't even count how many bands I've been in. We spoke about 3. Pyramid Tongue, Monk and Pure, Dead Days. Okay, 4. Now Deep Sleep Atlantic. Away from that, more than we could hold in our hands. You know, so it's like it just became, is that what I want? You know, music, of course. Music will be part of my life till I die. There's zero doubt about that, God willing. But there are certain personalities that come along this road that become a little taxing. Sure. There are certain situations that come along this road that can be extremely taxing. And then, you know, like you've got to also look at like what sort of life you want. Like, you might not get it, don't get me wrong, but you have to have a goal. That was or is the intention of this. Like, would it be wonderful to be this generation's version of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers? Of course it would. But you have to be a realist. You have to figure out who your audience are. You have to decide, is that the audience you want? Because if it isn't, well, is this really the music you want to make? And if it is, well then, maybe you need to know where your lanes are. So that if you don't become Billie Eilish, or if you don't become Ed Sheeran, you're okay with that. Yeah. Because if you think that that's what you're going to do and you're making some kind of hardcore, screamo, I don't know, odd time signatured prog rock metal thing, and your heart's really into that, but you can't break through because it's not mainstream, you can't be upset. You've got to look at the black and white, and you've got to be honest with yourself. And I think with Deep Sleep Atlantic, and this is just my 2 cents on it, you know, I have been I've spent a lot of time. I mean, I've got notebook after notebook with sketches and this logo, that logo. Ooh, no. I got probably 100 logos we didn't use. I mean, we've been sitting on this album for a while. We could have just put it out. It would have been one of the 75,000 songs that get out a day that get no play. Now listen, I know it didn't get as much play as Dua Lipa's new single, but we also don't have the money Dua Lipa has to put behind that single. You know, so all I'm trying to say is it's been meticulous, but in a positive way. Sure. Because we've been building business plans and timelines and content and ideas, and okay, we could go out and gig every single night. Is that smart? We're trying to think smart. It might not pay off, but we're attempting to follow a different path. These paths have all been taken. Path A got me here, path B got me here, path C maybe here, whatever. This is a whole new path for me. Sure. You know, that's what we're trying to do.
Your first album for Deep Sleep Atlantic comes out next month. When and where can they all find that?
9th of June, Prelude. It'll be on all the usual sources, you know, all the typical streaming things. If people want to purchase it, obviously that can be via our website or wherever you purchase music, iTunes, Amazon, those kinds of things. The first single, like I say, came out in March. The new single comes out this Friday. and the third single will come out with the album.
Name them for me, please, for them.
First single is called Bipolar Tendencies. Second single is called Blue. Third single is called Bones. And Bones features a guitar solo from a really good friend of mine, Zach Loy.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Loy plays in that band Live.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember Live?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, it's cool, man. I'm proud of it, you know. And we're, you know, I don't know if I should say this yet. Maybe it's too premature, but we're about 60% the way through already with album number 2.
Yeah.
So like we're following our little business plan, which sounds so un-rock and roll, but like, what's rock and roll now? You know,
I've been hearing it more and more. You're not the only one. People don't realize getting into this that
it's a business.
Yeah, music is recess, and
Yeah.
business is school time,
Yeah.
and guess which takes up more of your day.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
But it's a privilege to play music.
Yeah.
Not just to be able to play it, but it's a privilege to be able to perform and play music
Yeah.
for people. And maybe we pay for that, or y'all pay for that by having to handle the business side
Yeah.
of things as well, you know.
And also, you know, I do think it's good that people try and educate themselves. It's difficult.
Absolutely.
You know, watching Spotify tutorials on algorithms and things like that for 4 hours a day for 2 months, it's not fun. But again, you have to decide, because you can do that,
Mm-hmm.
or you can pay someone to do it. And these campaigns are thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So if you're going to spend $10,000 on a marketing campaign,
Mm-hmm.
which might not get you any more than you could have done for yourself, it might. Please don't get me wrong. It might. But knowledge is power, man. Like you could learn those skills. It's no different from you editing a podcast. That is a skill. Now, sure, some people might go study and have to get a piece of paper for that skill. But whether you have that piece of paper or not, a skill is a skill.
Sure.
And so as you arm yourself with more skilled weaponry, if you want to use that term, like, you become, not even for other people, for yourself, you become more valuable.
Absolutely.
Listen, I'm at a point where it's like, I have these discussions all the time. It's like, we've all got choices, right? And this is not to sound preachy. It's not to sound like demeaning or anything like that. But we've all got choices, right? You made the choice to get in your car, come here to my home studio, do this interview. It's going to take you time to edit this, etc., etc., etc. But you made that choice. How many people do you know that go, man, I'd love to put out a podcast, and they sit there and they watch TV all day? They don't make it's too easy to talk about.
Yeah.
Listen, I've been diagnosed with depression twice. I make the choice every day to get up and work. And now, sure, it's different for different people,
Yeah.
right? Like maybe my mindset works different to yours. And maybe because of that, I can function. Okay, I've got to peel myself out of bed. I've got to go take my dogs for a walk. I've got to get back and practice guitar for an hour. And then I can work on some music. Oh, I've got to go do this gig tonight. But I don't look at it as I've got to. I look at it as like I'm lucky. I get up every day and I make the choice to appreciate the fact that I can. And then, even on the shittest gigs in the world, or even when my dogs are crying through the door, I feel lucky that I get to live this life. I get to talk to people like you about my music.
Sure.
That's fucking awesome.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to take the time out to kind of consider those things, because a lot of people will say, yeah, that's great and all, but blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you before I forgot, because you mentioned something that was going to be my next question, but you'd kind of mentioned it. You were studying Spotify's algorithms and such.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about your release strategy for the album Prelude. You did 3,
Yeah.
and then the album.
Yeah, well, the third one's coming out with the album.
Oh, okay.
So release strategy, basically, bullet points of it would be, we put out a single, 4 weeks later, single, video for both, okay? 4 weeks later, album with single, video.
Gotcha.
And then there's a few other things, more intricate things in between all of that. But like I say, it's been, the response has been pretty incredible. I mean, we're obviously brand new. We launched March. So we're brand new. We might have been working in the background and practicing and tweaking.
Sure.
But the actual band launched March.
Mm-hmm.
And like the response has been incredible. I mean, we've had a couple, I don't know, this is something I'm now trying to learn, but we've had a couple little reels go, I don't want to say viral, but like a couple of reels have gotten into the thousands now. Like one got into like 60,000, one got to like 10,000.
Great.
It's not happening with all of them.
Sure.
I mean, one will get 10.
Yeah.
And then one will get 10,000. It makes no sense to me.
There is no sense there to be made, trust me.
but like the just general response on, like, say, the first single, Bipolar Tendencies, it's crazy. I mean, I think we got playlisted on, like, I'm so sorry. I thought that was on Do Not Disturb. We got playlisted on, like, over 40 radio stations around the world.
Nice.
Now listen, I know that not all those radio stations are like massive. I don't care. because like, if one person in Ecuador listens to that radio station and happens to hear our song and go, that's cool, winning.
Yeah, 5 seconds of anybody's day is winning, dude.
Exactly, you know, and so, like, that's the way I'm looking at it. I can't believe the response. I mean, I had a guy hit me up on Instagram today. At first I thought it was spam.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he got into my DMs and he's like, hey, my friend, love your music. And I was like, yeah, okay.
And
so, listen, I respond to everybody. I take care of all the social medias. And I responded, I said, well, thanks, man. Thinking, all right, let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
You know? And a few minutes later, he's like, seriously, I'm on Spotify right now. I'm just, we've only got one song on Spotify at this point, and the other one comes out this week. He's like, I've looped this song like all day. It's like, it's incredible.
That's awesome.
I love this. And I'm like, cool. You know, I mean, I don't know what more to say. Thank you. Like, thanks so much. Like, truly, that helps. Like, you can't even imagine. But like, just to go back to what I said earlier, I'm at a point where it's like, and I talk to Daniel about this all the time, it's like, to become a rich, famous rock star would be incredible, right? I don't think I want that rock star thing. I've never been into that. That's so, I don't know. I feel like that's a dead thing, personally, that way that some of those guys carry themselves. I think you can't do that now. You know, you can't throw a TV out of a hotel room now. You'll get cancelled.
So many people with cameras now.
Yeah, exactly.
But honestly, to second that, I mean, I've said this about myself and what I'm doing. If you were to explode tomorrow, you might find yourself too deluded to continue on with the same purity.
Exactly.
And I think that a lot of people, and that's why I kind of asked you that question earlier about were there things that kind of intimidated you when things started to happen, in your words?
Yeah.
Because that can have a really deep, long-lasting, and possibly incredibly negative effect on you.
Yeah.
You know, you could write great music and you've been diagnosed with depression twice. What if tomorrow you would never say it again?
I know.
Would we ever hear the same music?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there's some beauty in suffering, especially when it comes to musicians and
listen,
creatives
man,
in general.
This is my therapy, man.
Sure.
This is my therapy. I go into these holes, and I'm not saying it to sound all, he's so deep and stuff. No, that's all bullshit. Like, this is my therapy.
It was coming out regardless.
And it's been coming out my whole life.
Right.
And so, like, when you hear these songs, I can't always pinpoint the exact thing that maybe I was talking about for you. I don't want to either.
Yeah.
I want you to listen to the song and either go, it's not for me, or, man, I think he's talking about this. And I might not be, but like, it's my therapy. You know, we didn't have BetterHelp app when I was 16.
Right.
You know, we didn't have BetterHelp app when I was 25. So it's like, this was my therapy. if you were in a band and you gave me a tough time and I got in the car and couldn't understand it, I got home and I wrote a song about it.
Yeah.
You know, and suddenly I felt better. And so, man, thank God for guitars, I tell you. And I started as a drummer, but like guitars are just genius things. And I love it all, you know.
That's awesome, man. Well, that's cool. I appreciate your time, man.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
I truly, truly appreciate it, man.